Hey there, welcome back. Let's proceed further and let's check a couple of more interesting things related to exception handling. So let's get started. In here, I have already added this project in order to save some time. And in here, first of all, we would be making use of a try-catch block. So let's get started. First of all, here we have the try block. Let me add a catch block in here. Alright, so this is the standard stuff. Now friends, whenever we make use of try-catch block, there could be multiple catches. And definitely there should be only one try block where we can add statements. Now suppose in here we create a variable x maybe, and inside the try block we try to say x equals 10 divided by 0. Now as we know that this statement, after execution of this statement there would be an exception, so we can catch this exception. Divide by 0 is a arithmetic exception error. So inside this catch block, we will try to print the exact stack trace. So in here I will type in e.print stack trace, and after that we will say sysout inside exception block. Alright, so this looks good. Very simple and easy to understand program. And if I execute the program, it will say that here is a arithmetic error. The error is divide by 0. And we are also able to print the statement which is inside exception block, which is cool. And this is what is expected. Now friends, if I show you real quick the hierarchy of how the exception classes are laid out in our Java package. The exact package is java.lang.exception, and inside this package definitely there are like tons of subclasses. There are many subclasses. Definitely inside these subclasses there could be couple of more subclasses as well. So if we check this, there could be multiple methods, there could be couple of more subclasses. Let me show you. Here we go. So in here there are couple of subclasses. Let me show you one package which is runtime exception. Let me search for it, runtime exception. Here we go. So in here, for example, in here it's jm runtime exception. If I click on this, there are couple of subclasses. So those kind of subclasses are there, and there are further hierarchy inside these subclasses as well. The bottom line is that there are many exception type, and the main exception is definitely exception. So exception is mother of all exception, and mother of exception class is throwable, and definitely mother of all the classes is the object class. So this is something you must know. We will come to this point and I will try to make you understand why I am emphasizing on this point, that we have a large variety of exception and these subclasses are more specific exception type, whereas the exception class is the generic exception type. Alright, so now moving forward, let us also understand how exactly Java handles when some kind of exception occurs. For example, in this try block, we have only one statement. For example, we print a yet another statement. The statement will not get executed. Now, as the name suggests or as the message suggests, this particular statement will not get executed. Why? Because before this particular statement, we already have encountered with the exception. Let me show you. Right? So in here, the statement will not get executed, as we can easily identify using this output. Now, if, for example, we want to copy this statement and paste it before the line where we will encounter with the exception, we can also modify this. So in here, this statement where the message is the statement will get executed is before the statement where we are encountering with the exception. So in here, as soon as Java will try to execute this statement, a exception will occur, which would be a arithmetic exception type, right? But before that, before this line of code, we have this statement which will get executed. So the bottom line is the statement before the exception will get executed, and the statement after the exception will not get executed. Let me show you. Here we go. So the statement which is before the exception, definitely printing the message, but the statement which is after the exception is not able to print the message on the console, right? So that is one thing. Moreover, what happens to this line where we are encountering the exception? That is again a question. For example, this particular line of a statement is little different. Let me add in a yet another statement in here. It would be like, we don't know what will be the outcome, right? And after this we will perform a very simple operation. It would be like x divided by 10 maybe as of now, and take a note of it that as of now there won't be any exception in here, right? So as of now, if we print this, then it will definitely give us a proper output where the first statement will give us a message, the statement will get executed. The second message would be, we don't know what would be the outcome, and then we will print 0. And the statement will not get executed. Now let us make some changes, small little changes, and let us do one thing. Let us divide x with 0. When Java will execute this particular part of this statement, definitely there would be a crash. Now this particular statement is consisting of two parts. First part is where we are simply displaying this message on console, and the second part is a arithmetic part where we have some arithmetic operation. Now we know two things. First thing is that this particular statement will get executed, and the second thing is that the third statement after exception, this highlighted statement after exception, will not get executed. But what would be the outcome for this particular statement? The bottom line is there is no chance of partial execution. Let me show you. In here there is no partial execution. Either the execution of the statement would be complete or it will not get executed. So in here, the line where we have exception, if there are multiple parts, multiple phases of operation, even those will not get executed in any mean. So in here, there is no output. Let me try to show you a better example in here. Suppose in here we will say x equals to 10 multiplied by 10, right? And we will enclose this in between pair of parentheses. This means that this part will first get executed, then afterwards we will try to divide the final answer with 0, right? So in here again there are two parts. Firstly we will try to multiply 10 with 10, and then we will try to divide it by 0, and finally we will try to give the final value to x. So there are multiple parts. We can further modify this. We can further try to do further things. Let me show you. Alright, so let me do one more thing. In here we will be creating a yet another variable, maybe y, and we will initialize the value of y as 5 maybe. Alright, and in here inside this statement what we will do is, in here we will type in y equals 10 multiplied by 10. So first of all we will multiply 10 into 10, which will give us 100, and that value would be stored inside this variable y. And finally we will be dividing 100 with 0 when we will get the exception. Now after this execution, what should be the value of y? Let me try to print the final value of y. Now this could be little confusing, right? So let me also add a separator as well, that will give you a better visibility. So as per rule, the value of y should be only 5 because no partial execution should be done. Let me show you whether our concept works properly or not. Let me show you. Here we go. So in here the value is 100 somehow, right? Now we need to understand how these phases of operation will perform. We need to understand what was the first scenario, what is the second scenario. When we perform this particular operation, there are two complete statements. In here, this particular part is a complete statement. There is no partial execution. This is a complete statement. As a result, the value of y was updated to 100. Why? Because this is in total a complete step, a complete statement per se, right? So in here, this is a complete statement, and this could be known as a sub-step maybe, or sub-statement maybe, right? So a complete sub-statement will perform, and there won't be any partial statement execution, which was the case previously. Let me undo the changes and let me show you the previous example where we were not able to print any output. So in here we were passing this particular parameter, and this is a parameter to this println method. So this part where we are printing the message on the console is not a complete statement or a complete sub-statement. As a result, we were not able to print this on the console. So we need to understand these small things, how things works, and if there is any confusion, don't worry, because usually these small little things doesn't affect much if you are not creating a complex statement. So you need to understand that as well. So that's it. Moving forward, we can also have multiple catch blocks. So in here, first of all, we have a single catch, but in here we can have multiple catches. Let me do one thing. In here, let me hit enter and let me add a yet another catch block. Here we go. And this won't be a exception. This would be a arithmetic exception type, right? And in here, we will try to print a statement, arithmetic exception occurred, right? So in here, now if we print, what would be the output? Whether we would be printing this statement or we would be printing this statement along with the stack trace. Let me get rid of this. Or we would be printing both of these statements after exception. Let me do one more thing. Let me comment these two lines of code as well in order to reduce confusion. Now, if we execute this program, the output is arithmetic exception occurred. Simple, right? Very simple. So in here, the reason why we are able to print only this particular line of code is pretty simple, because the type of exception was arithmetic exception. Now, whenever there would be multiple catch blocks, Java will try to select the most accurate type of the exception. So in here, it have found the most exact exception type, which is the arithmetic exception, and the arithmetic catch block, the arithmetic exception catch block will get executed. So in here we are printing the statement. Now take a note of it that only one catch block will get executed for a try. Even though there are thousands of catch blocks, doesn't matter, only one catch block will get executed. And there is no upper limit. We can have like multiple catch blocks. It could be like 10, 15, 20 or any number of catch blocks for our try block. Alright, so this is it for today. And there are more things related to exception handling, which we will cover in our forthcoming videos. Hope you guys enjoyed it.